Welcome to the lecture. Today I will provide insight into the connection between obesity and respiratory diseases, particularly COVID-19. According to the World Health Organization, the COVID-19 pandemic has claimed more than 1.7 million lives worldwide as of December 2020. 1.7 million people is almost the whole population of the city of Montreal, Canada. I will tell you a much more shocking fact. Cardiovascular disease, being the #1 cause of death globally, takes an estimated 17.9 million lives each year. That's 10 times the population of Montreal, Canada. It is a well-known fact that being obese or overweight is one of the major risk factors of developing cardiovascular disease or type 2 diabetes. Obesity is also related to other major chronic diseases, including stroke, asthma, gallbladder disease, liver disease, certain forms of cancer, and many other disorders. If we add these numbers up, there is no question that obesity is the #1 risk factor to your health. Since the 20th century, obesity has claimed more lives than all wars, violent events, and dictatorships combined, including World War I, World War II, genocide, civil wars, man-made famines, and communism. In this lecture series, we will focus on the topic of how obesity weakens the immune system and why being obese is a major risk factor for many respiratory diseases, including COVID-19. There are several explanations to the problem of why obesity is associated with an increased risk of developing respiratory diseases. Let's see the mechanical effects of fat accumulation first. In obese individuals, the excess body fat that lines the chest and occupies the abdomen limits the action of the respiratory muscles. The structural changes reduce lung compliance, lung volume, and lead to mechanical impairment of the respiratory muscles. Adipose tissue around the airways narrows down the luminal diameter of the airway and increases resistance. In morbidly obese individuals, the lower parts of the lungs are poorly ventilated due to the closure of small airways. In contrast, the upper regions of the lungs exhibit enhanced ventilation. In obese and overweight individuals, there is a strong correlation between lung function and body fat distribution. The mechanical impact of fat accumulation in the chest and abdominal regions is the greatest. The mechanical effects of obesity have been known for a long time. In addition to these factors, however, there is a relatively new area that hasn't been studied until the end of the last century. Traditionally, fat tissue was viewed merely as a long-term storage media for excess calories. This approach is outdated. Over the course of the last few decades, as we had a better understanding of the complex role of cytokines and new hormones were being discovered as well, the way we looked at the adipose tissue had to be reconsidered. Fat tissue is much more than simply a storage place for the excess calories, being a highly active, metabolic, and endocrine organ as well. As a matter of fact, the adipose tissue is the largest endocrine organ of the body. Fat is deposited at several locations throughout the human body. Subcutaneous fat is located underneath the skin. Intramuscular fat accumulates within skeletal muscles. Visceral fat is body fat that is stored inside the abdominal cavity surrounding vital organs such as the stomach, liver, intestines, kidneys, and the pancreas. Visceral fat is substantially different from any other types of body fat. Abdominal obesity is the worst possible form of obesity. In obese and overweight individuals, abdominal fat accumulation is correlated to the development of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and many other chronic diseases. The body fat is stored in fat cells, also known as adipocytes. There are two main types of adipocytes, brown and white adipocytes. The third type of fat cells is an intermediate form between white and brown adipocytes called beige adipocytes. White and brown adipocytes are substantially different. Brown adipocytes contain many small lipid droplets and a round nucleus. They have several mitochondria and they are metabolically active. Brown adipose tissue plays an important role in heat production. Brown adipose tissue is especially abundant in newborns and infants. With aging, however, the amount of brown adipose tissue decreases progressively. In contrast, the count of white adipocytes steadily increases with time. These types of fat cells are not metabolically active, rather they are specialized in fat storage. They have low mitochondrial content and there is only one large lipid droplet inside the cell that takes the bulk of the space. White adipocytes have a remarkable ability to expand, and the stored fat squeezes the flattened nucleus close to the surface of the cell. As obesity progresses, in the beginning, adipocytes go through hyperplasia and increase in the number of fat cells. However, since this process is not sustainable, at a certain point the size of the adipocytes will start to increase instead of the number. In advanced obesity, these enormous fat cells undergo necrotic or apoptotic cell death. Dying cells provoke the recruitment of inflammatory cells, leading to a state of a continuous low-grade inflammation. Virtually all the modern-day lifestyle diseases are correlated to this inflammatory state caused by the dysfunctional adipose tissue. Such disorders include metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, certain types of cancer, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, arthritis, kidney disease, and many others. In the following parts of the lecture, we will examine how the state of a continuous low-grade inflammation is correlated to respiratory diseases.